Yadunandana Brajajanandana Yadunandana Brajajanandana Yadunandana Brajajanandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jayo Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yadunandana Brajajanandana Yadunandana Yadunandana Brajajanandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Vishnu Mahant Parivrajacharya Sutra Santa Shri Srimad Vaindra Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Jaya Ananta Koti Vaishnavi Niti Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jaya Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jaya Prem Sri Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jaya Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Prabhu Radha Kum Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Jai Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jai Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Prabhu Tulsi Mahari Ki Jai Samavekta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Glorious to the Assembly devotees Glorious to the Assembly devotees Glorious to the Assembly devotees All glorious to Shri Guru Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this afternoon we're reading from Bhagavad Gita chapter 10 called The Opulence of the Absolute, text number 11. So I'll read the Sanskrit here, and yeah, maybe those of you who know this verse can repeat. Text 11. Teshameva partham
Tesamevānukam partham
Ahamajnanajam tamaha
Ahamajnanam tamaha
Nashayami atmabhavastu
Nashayami atmabhavastu
Jnanadipena bhasata.
Jnanadipena bhasata.
Which means, to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in the hearts, destroy with a shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. This is Krishna speaking to Arjuna, and Prabhupada gives the following purport, which covers 1.5 pages. Purport. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thousands of people were following him. Prakashananda Saraswati, a very influential and learned scholar in Benares at that time, derided Lord Chaitanya, derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not a fact. They are very, very learned scholars who have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of their literatures or of his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotional service, he is helped by Krishna himself within his heart. So that the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. The modern philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. For them, this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotional service, even though they be without sufficient education and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme God, as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the Supreme Truth, the Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of God, simply by speculating. For the Supreme Truth is so great that it is not possible to understand Him or to achieve Him simply by making a mental effort. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of the Supreme Truth, he will never understand Krishna or the Supreme Truth. Only by devotional service is the Supreme Truth, Krishna, pleased. And by his inconceivable energy he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart, and with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is the special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. The last paragraph. Due to the contamination of material association through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism, but when one engages in devotional service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. There was only one here. The dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious, because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. I repeat the verse. Hisham eva mukam bhavatam aham jnana jantamaha nashiyamyatma bhavasto jnana dipena bhasita. To show me special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with a shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Om Gyanatimirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunnivitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Gam Bhayate Giram Yat Kripatamaham Vande Sri Guru Nataranam Namo Vishnu Radhani Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paskachadi Shtadvine. So this is an interesting verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Also the verse just before, number 10, says a little bit the same thing. That devotional service is the soul's loving relationship with the Lord. And the Lord is Satchidananda Vigraha. He is the ultimate form of Sat, which means eternity, Chit, which means consciousness or knowledge, awareness, enlightenment, and Ananda, which means bliss, happiness, and ultimate transcendental blissfulness. So these qualities are there also within the soul, because the soul is a little spark of that complete original fire, which is the Lord, Satchidananda Vigraha. So therefore, devotional service is the ultimate and absolute means to reconnect the soul with the Lord. Now we are all disconnected from the Lord, at least some are. Some are again connected with the Lord and are experiencing Satchit Ananda by pleasing Lord Krishna. All the devotees, all those who chant Hare Krishna and please Krishna by their service, they are objects of this endeavor, this action from Krishna, Jnana Deepena Bhasvata. So Prabhupada says in the purport that a devotee cannot be without knowledge, which is a very interesting thing. Because devotional service is, when it's done according to the pleasure of the Lord, that means when it's done according to how the spiritual master has asked us to serve Krishna. The spiritual master, if he's a proper spiritual master, he has received this knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita and the knowledge of devotional service through the disciplic succession from his spiritual master, and by pleasing his spiritual master by service, he has become enlightened with his knowledge. So, devotional service is a question of, it's not a material endeavor to do something like building a temple or making so many new devotees or distributing so many books or distributing so many plates of prasad and this and that. That may be an impetus for performing devotional service, but ultimately devotional service means the pleasure of Krishna, that one has to invoke the pleasure of the Lord, otherwise devotional service has no meaning. If one decides to become initiated by a spiritual master who is coming in the line of devotional service, of the Bhakti line, such as Srila Prabhupada, the 6 Goswamis, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and all the previous acharyas, then one, by that, makes the statement to actually also become a pure devotee. If you are initiated by the pure devotee, then potentially you're also a pure devotee. That's why Srila Prabhupada, when he was asked by some reporter or somebody, how many pure devotees do you have in your movement? Prabhupada said, all my devotees are pure devotees. That means that if you surrender and take initiation from a spiritual master who is teaching you the science of pure devotional service, you accept that. That means, in essence and theoretically, you are a pure devotee, because you are agreeing to what he's teaching you. Otherwise, there's no use of becoming initiated by a spiritual master. If you first let it become initiated and then you read the books and say, oh, I don't agree to this, then that's not pure devotional service. So the advice is that before becoming initiated by a spiritual master in any kind of movement, you have to take part in the literature or the teachings that he has given and agree to it, and then become initiated. It's not some cheap thing, I love the devotees, I want to be initiated. No, it's like you have to know what they're doing, what their philosophy is, and what the practice is, and what is demanded by you. Then you take initiation with that knowledge. And then, when you know what is devotional service, what is required from you, then when you act in that capacity, in that consciousness, that is pure devotional service. That is being in the shower of cleansing the soul. The fire of pure devotional service is very strong, as everybody who has this experience. For example, when we preach Krishna consciousness very intensely to the conditioned souls, there's a very big feeling of bliss inside the soul. For example, all the devotees who have tried to distribute books on the street, which is very difficult. But if you succeed distributing a few books, you can feel that the Lord inside is responding. He's pushing you. You feel some ecstasy. That is what it's meant by Jnana Dipena Bhasvata. That by pleasing the Lord, you feel His presence very strongly in the heart. He's never absent. The Lord has never been absent from us. We can never say, "Oh my Lord, why have you forgotten me and forsaken me?" No, it's not possible, because there's never any difference, there's never any distance between the soul and the super soul. They're always together, in all incarnations. They have always been together. So Krishna has never left us. But we have left Him. But even if we left Him, He's still, "Oh, I'm coming with you." Even though we didn't know when we came to this material world, we didn't know that Krishna came together with us and stayed with us in the heart. And I'm so lonely in this material world, I have no friends. And no, Krishna is always with you, but you don't want Him. That's all. He's always been there, and He's always available through the process of devotional service. The difficulty, though, is that once we are in this material consciousness, our original knowledge is so covered that there's nothing really to remind us of who we are. Only when we come in contact with the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, and his pure disciples, then we have a chance to revive that spiritual nearness to the Lord, to actually realize that yes, the Lord is within our hearts. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta smriti jnanam apohanancha. Krishna is within the heart. In the 15th chapter, text 15 of the Gita, then Krishna says, He's seated in everyone's heart, and from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. So that means that within our heart is God, and He is the one who reminds us, "Oh, now you have to get up, now you have to go to work, now you have to eat, now you have to do this, now you have to watch television, now you have to read, now you have to drink coffee, now you have to do this." This is all the super soul. We think that it's we, no? According to our previous karma and our previous desires, the super soul tells us what to do. And in one purport, in the second canto of Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada says that all we see, all we smell, all we hear, all we touch, all we understand, for us to be able to do any of these things means that the super soul has seen, touched, smelled, understood those things before. So we could not even see anything. I could not even see you if not the super soul had seen you first. So that means God is within our hearts and always dictating what to do. Always telling us, reminding us what we have to do, according to our desire and according to our karma. All this was also happening by the orchestration. Everything, even a mistake, is by the mercy of the super soul. Everything. The only you can say, the only situation where you're completely disconnected from the super soul, if you become totally disconnected altogether from the super soul, that is called madness. That is madness. That is insanity. That's when people are insane, have mental insanity such as psychosis and these things, and start becoming completely off the rails, beyond reality, that is when the super soul is no longer in contact. You have given up completely listening to the super soul. That is due to very, very heavy sinful activities. This happens, or previous karma, and so on and so forth. So, the point of the Krishna consciousness movement is that because we have this contact with the line of pure devotional service, we have been given the chance of hearing this Vedic knowledge spoken by somebody who has already attained pure devotional service, which is very rare. Then by that mercy we can step over so many steps of purification in order to become Krishna conscious. If there is no pure devotee, then you have to go through the different stages of karma, jnana and yoga, and then in the end, if you're lucky, attain to bhakti. Through this very, very long processes of purification, which might take up to 100,000 years to receive. There are stories from the previous ages that the sages, they were meditating for 60,000 years. Valmiki, I think, meditated for 60,000 years before he could write the Ramayana. 60,000 years. Who would join this movement if we asked everybody? So now we have to meditate for 60,000 years. Oh no, thank you. I have to take the bus, I have to go to work. 60,000 years, no. So that is necessary if there is no pure devotee available. Then we have to do all these things to achieve what we can achieve in 1 second, really, by hearing from the pure devotee. This knowledge that Krishna is talking about, jnana dipena bhasvata, that we can be very lucky if we are engaged under a pure devotee and actually, but we don't like to read or listen to philosophy, but if one is very, very sincere, then Krishna will give the knowledge from within. But that requires a very, very complete surrender, and that is difficult to do without that knowledge. So therefore, in these books is that knowledge which Krishna speaks about, jnana dipena bhasvata. So either way, as a devotee of Lord Krishna in this Krishna consciousness movement, there is no possibility of being in ignorance, because either you serve Krishna sincerely in such a way that Krishna will give you the knowledge from within, and you back it up by reading these books, or hearing these books, or hearing Srila Prabhupada speak. Srila Prabhupada says many times, the only secret of success in achieving pure devotional service is hearing from the right person, hearing from the right source. So that means we have to hear from a devotee who speaks exactly according to the Guru Parampara. That will keep the fire of devotion burning through the generations of the Parampara. Otherwise, Krishna has to come and give the knowledge again, as he says at the beginning of the 4th chapter. Who knows that verse?
Evam parampara praptami mamaragasa yogitu sarkalinaha mahata yogunastatarantato. The science was thus received in the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time the succession was broken, and therefore the science as it is appears to be lost. Yeah. So we cannot make ourselves responsible to lose the science. We have to repeat exactly what we heard from Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual master, and keep this. We cannot add anything to that, and we cannot take anything away. It's not that we can adopt this to better fit the Western world. Prabhupada already did that. Actually, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati already did that by, for the first time ever, introducing things like motor cars, as Prabhupada calls them, motor cars, and palatial buildings. You see, there is a purport in the 4th canto in the connection with the story of King Puranjan in chapter 29, where
Narada Muni and King Prachinabharish are discussing the meaning of the story of King Puranjan. And Prabhupada says that, in connection, I can't remember which verse it is, but he says that in the previous ages, he says that the idea of devotional service is to reduce the needs of the body, like eating, sleeping. And that's why in the previous ages, devotees, they used to go to the forest, to the mountains, to practice austerity. But then he said the times have changed. Nobody wants to do that anymore. Who wants to go to the forest and practice austerity? Go to Kripstal and sit for 60,000 years? No. I don't think so. So therefore Prabhupada says that these sages, he says that for a devotee himself it might be very advantageous to go to the forest and meditate. But if you become a preacher, and Prabhupada in all his purpose demands that we become preachers of this Krishna consciousness movement, it's a very, very pure, very clear instruction. If you become a preacher, he says, you cannot stay in the forest, because people will not come to the forest. People are used to living in, comfortable apartments with modern amenities. So therefore he says, the devotees, they have to come to the cities and make proper arrangements to receive the ordinary people. And then gradually they will understand that comfortable apartments is not at all necessary by hearing. But he says the point is to hear from the pure devotee. So the people of the world, they're not going to the forest, so we have to come to the cities. But that does not mean that devotional service has anything to do with city life. It's for the purpose of preaching, and gradually the general populace may hopefully understand that this life of so-called material luxury is useless, because it's finished by death. We cannot take any of this stuff with us when we leave. All our fancy arrangements, our beautiful homes, they're gone in very few years. So the point is to use as little endeavor on this as possible. But for the sake of spreading the Krishna consciousness movement, Prabhupada says we can even use material things. Even material things are acceptable in devotional service for spreading Krishna consciousness. It's called Yukta Vairagya. This does not mean that anything can be Yukta Vairagya just because we like something and we call it Yukta Vairagya. No, you're only cheating yourself. So, Yukta Vairagya means that we are not attached to anything in this material world, nothing. Neither can we renounce anything, because nothing ever belonged to us to start with. Oh, I renounce my car, I renounce my house, I renounce everything. All these things that I have renounced. No, you never had them in the first place. They were never yours. By karma you are allowed to have them for a while, but nothing in the world is ever ours. So therefore we cannot even renounce anything. We can only be placed in our natural position as pure devotees, servants of the Lord, understanding that material things have nothing to do with us. But for the sake of helping other conditioned souls who are attached in the material world, we might have to do some material arrangements to reach their ears. But the only thing we want to do is to reach the ears with the knowledge of pure devotional service. So Krishna says, if you perform pure devotional service, you will not be in ignorance. And if you are in ignorance, then read the books. Because that is also hearing. Devotional service is mainly, pure devotional service, Prabhupada says, is mainly Shravana Kirtana. There are 9 processes of devotional service. Who can please list them?
Sravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smaranam Parasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasham, Shakyam Atmanivedanam.
Which means?
Shravana means hearing, Kirtana means chanting.